Hi guys, welcome to AFL.com.au's pre-season prediction show. Sarah Olle here with Cal Twomey. We're going to be answering some of your hard-hitting questions today. And Cal, we're kicking one off with a bit of a tricky one from Cody. He wants to know who's your tip for the Brownlow, the Flag and the Coleman.
All right, well, I went for Nick Dacos as my Brownlow tip last year. Probably would have won it, let's face it, if he didn't get injured in those last few rounds. So I'm not deviating off him. I'm going to go 32 votes for Nick to win the Brownlow this year. Coleman medal, go Jeremy Cameron, his second Coleman medal there. Won one a couple of years ago for the Giants. And for my Premier, well, it's been a long run-up for the Brisbane Lions. I think they're ready to be premiers.
Yeah, I like the Lions as well. They're my premiership fancy. When it comes to a Brownlow fancy, hard to look past Errol Goulden, Cal.
You've gone for Errol.
No, I don't have my blinkers on, but I just think he polled very well last year. The umpires clearly like what he's about, so I'm locking Errol in. And for the Coleman medal, it's back-to-back-to-back. Charlie Curnow, I think another big season for the Carlton forward.
All right, question from Isabel. Who will have a breakout year this year?
For me, it's a giant by the name of Aaron Cadman, of course, a former #1 pick. I really liked his form in the pre-season match against the Swan. 4 goals. I think we'll see him emerge this year.
Yeah, for me, it's a former giant, actually, Tanner Bruin. I think that there's going to be some responsibility handed his way in the Geelong midfield. He's about to play his 50th AFL game. He's in his 4th season now. Tanner Bruin, for me, ready to take that next jump. Obviously, an early pick back in that 2020 draft.
And this one from Aiden, and this is really in your wheelhouse, Cal. Who will be the grand final entertainment?
Well, is it who will it be or who should it be?
Who do you want it to be?
I want it, Robbie Williams perennially. Look, it's hard act to follow after Robbie in 2022. Kiss were awesome last year. I've got a couple of suggestions, though. I think Katy Perry would be a good option for the AFL to go for. Yep, absolutely. And also Pink. I think I've looked at their schedules touring. There might be some vacancies there. Have a look at them. And just an Australian option as well, Tame Impala.
Well, you seem to have used some logic, but I'm just going with what I'd like to see. Fingers crossed for Dua Lipa.
Ah, yes. One call's all it takes. Lawson has a question. Who do we predict to win the Rising Star?
Well, I've locked in Aru, and it's not one that you might be thinking. It's actually George Wardlaw. He only played, I think, the 8 games last year, so he is still eligible for this year's Rising Star. I just love how tough he is, Cal, and I reckon he's going to rip some games open from the centre.
He takes the eye, doesn't he? There's no doubt about that. He's in my mix. Also, Colby McKercher, Elijah Sardis from the previous year as well. But me, well, I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm going to say Harley Reid. He's the #1 pick. All the hype's there for a reason. I'm looking forward to that soon, actually, hearing about how these early picks are actually quite good. Well, of course they're good. Harley Reid is one of those. He'll be fantastic this year. He's my pick.
And, of course, if and when he does win, you've got a song to play.
Yes, hallelujah.
So we can go with that one again.
Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. Here we go.
This one is from Evan. Will the McKays finally play each other this season? What do you reckon?
This is the one, as the Stone Roses said. This is the one. King's birthday eve at the MCG is the first time that Essendon and Carlton play each other this year. Round 13. This is
13.
This is 13. This is going to be it. This is going to be the McKay Bowl. It's going to happen. I'm backing it in.
In one word?
There's no logic behind that. I just think it has to be.
It's a yes.
Yep. All right, Byron wants to know, is Lachie Schultz going to be the best recruit of the year?
Well, I reckon he's going to be up there. I really like what he's going to bring to the Collingwood forward line. Of course, we saw what Bobby Hill did in his debut season at the Pies. But for me, I'm going to head up north. I'm going to go to the Sydney Swans. Of course, they did a lot of work at the trade table and they got in Brodie Grundy, a former dual All-Australian, 2-time best and fairest at the Pies. Of course, the stint at Melbourne didn't work out. I reckon it will work out at the Swans.
Well, I reckon Byron's a Collingwood supporter because he's asked about Lachie Schultz, and I'm going to stick with him. I think Lachie Schultz will be the recruit of the year. 30-plus goals the last couple of years. I think he'll do that again if he can put together a full season without injury issues. I think he just suits their way of play, the ball movement, the speed through the middle of the ground, their dashing small forwards. So he's got that up and backness about him, if that's a word. I almost made it up. But look, I think that Lachie Schultz fits in perfectly. Another one, maybe a little bit of a lower value recruit in terms of what they had to give up. But Port Adelaide's acquisition of Asava Radagale, but then Ivan Soldo, I think that'll be important for their midfield mix. And we know how good that midfield is.
Now, this is a question we got from multiple people, Cal. Which team from outside the 8 last year gets in 2024?
I'll go with Gold Coast. I'm on the Dimmer train. I
like
think
it.
it's time. This is a club that's ready for that step up. There's so much talent on that list. We've seen that over recent drafts dating back to sort of 2018, 2019, those years of Ben King, Jack Lukosius, Matt Rowell. Noah Anderson's obviously a leader at the footy club now. I feel like they're ready to take that next step, and Bailey Humphrey will have a massive year. So Gold Coast for me. What about you?
It's got to be the Crows for me. I mean, in an
pretty
ideal
close.
world, another world last year, they do make it. I just think that forward line is as exciting as you get. I really like their midfield. I do have a query over that back line. They've had some injuries down there, but I really like what Matthew Nicks is building. So for me, it's Adelaide, and I wouldn't even be surprised if they make a bit of a shake on the top 4, actually.
There we go. Jack wants to know, when will teams have a one-off gather around Guernsey? I like this idea.
Well, Jack, after this question, I reckon the AFL might be hot onto this, and I reckon next year.
Next year as well. It's probably doesn't have a huge lead in for round 4 this year, but next year I think you're bang on.
Now, this is another Jack. It's like the St Kilda football team, just Jacks everywhere. Who do you have as a smoky for All-Australian and the Brownlow?
Okay, the smoky for my Brownlow is Darcy Parish. He was a top 5 finisher in 2021, which was his best career year. Last year, I think we saw some of his best career form before he got hurt mid-season, but had a stellar pre-season. Everyone's been raving about him. If he can go forward and hit the scoreboard a little bit more as well, the sky's the limit for his Brownlow voting prowess. And for a smoky All-Australian, a guy from Port Adelaide who get some big offers last year to leave the footy club, Miles Bergman. He ended up staying. Can play half-back, across the wing as well. He'll be a mix of those different spots, but flashy, takes marks. Yeah, he's my smoky.
Now, I'm hedging my bets a little bit when it's a smoky for the Brownlow. I said I think the Crows are going to jump into the 8. If they're to do that, their skipper, Jordan Dawson, I think Cal plays a big part. He is my smoky, along with Tom Green for the Giants, although I'm not sure if he can really be a smoky, but I just want to put that out there. And in terms of my All-Australian smoky, I've gone with the Saint. Mitch Owens. I think he is building nicely, Cal, and I expect another breakout season from Mitch. Maybe a bit more midfield time as well. Let's see.
Yeah, he's a brute, isn't he? Looking forward to seeing how he develops in his 3rd year. All right, question from Tom. How many coach changes are we going to see this year?
Well, if we gaze into the crystal ball, Tom, it is tricky to know, but some coaches, Cal, are going to be under pressure. Over in the West, I would say Justin Longmuir, if the Dockers don't make finals, questions are going to be asked, and there just always seems to be a spotlight on Luke Beveridge at the Bulldogs, Cal.
There does. There's a difference between those two, of course, is that he's out of contract, Justin Longmuir, that is, going into this season, whereas Beveridge does have a contract, but a lot of off-season movement at the Bulldogs as well, and changes off-field there, so a focus on that footy club and if they can get back to the final series after missing last year.
From the serious to the not so serious, this one from Jay. Who has the best mullet in the AFL?
There's a few, obviously. I mean, Bailey Smith's here, so you're hard to beat Bailey Smith, and Sam Draper's probably there as well. But a couple of lesser knowns potentially. Jacob Ryan only got 1 game last year, I think, but and had it ended pretty prematurely. But a young Collingwood flyer, big flying hairdo as well. And Hugo Ralph Smith as well.
Oh, that's a good one, isn't it? Especially in full flight, that mullet does
just
flow.
Fly, doesn't it? Right, question from Katie for you, Sarah. What's the storyline to watch in 2024?
Well, I reckon it's all around Damien Hardwick. Does Dimmer still have it, of course? The Suns still haven't played finals. Can the 3-time premiership coach make it happen? It's going to be intriguing, exciting to watch. I feel like we're all kind of barracking for it, but it is something we'll be following all year. What about you?
I'm going to be following his tan progress as well. How that survives through the winter in the Gold Coast. For me, the storyline is Carlton. I mean, they were the storyline last year in so many different ways. The start to the season, the pressure on Michael Voss, how they flipped that around, the winning run to get into the finals, then the amazing 2 finals victories, then being 5 goals up at the start of the preliminary final, of course. So didn't quite get there in the end, but it was a season of great steps and progress for that footy club. How far can they go now, premiership potentially in their sights?
Now, Max has a question, and actually this is the perfect one for you, Cal, because you have consulted the coaches on this. When will the mid-season trade period come in?
Well, not this year, so it won't be coming in this year. The AFL's already ruled that out. I think it's going to come in 2025 in a form. I'm not sure what type of form we'll see that in, if all players are able to move, if all players in terms of their pay grade can move, if there's restrictions on how many per club can move during that mid-season window. But the AFL has an appetite for it. The players have agreed that they can be open to it as well as part of this CBA that they signed last year. So I think it's happening. It's just a matter of when. Question from Jess. I don't mind this one.
Yeah.
Will Scott Pendlebury get to 400 games? He's on 383 at the moment, so
I reckon
17 to go.
Jess, 400 and then some. This guy does not seem like slowing down. He is evergreen, such a professional. I mean, what is the games record? That could be in peril.
Boomer Harvey, 432. I think it's a chance. I don't think we'll see Scott Pendlebury winding down at the end of this year at this rate, particularly after that grand final performance. I know your last game is, you're only good as your last game, but he was very, very good.
Last game.
So there's potential of him getting 2 more years out, and that probably puts him on track to pass Boomer, so we wait and see.
We wait and see, indeed. The last one comes from Katrina. She wants to know, it's nice of you, Katrina, what's our favourite rom-com, Cal?
Can I name a couple?
Go for it. Why not?
Notting Hill.
The classic.
Notting Hill is a classic, and I'm actually in a bit of an Adam Sandler phase at the moment, so I'd say The Wedding Singer and 50 First Dates.
Oh, that is actually quite an underrated one.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm a classic, and really I like the British ones. So Notting Hill, Bridget Jones's Diary, 4 Weddings and a Funeral. I mean, they're the kind of comfort movies you can watch over and over again, Cal.
I might go watch one now.
All right, thanks for joining us on afl.com.au. That has been the pre-season prediction show. We might revisit this one a little down the road. Thanks for joining us.